Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has issued a stark warning to Gulf nations, escalating tensions as the regional conflict widens. According to Iran's semi-official Mehr news agency, Araghchi contacted the foreign ministers of Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, and Iraq, urging them not to allow the United States or Israel to use their territory to launch attacks against Iran. He warned that any country facilitating such operations could be considered a legitimate target. Araghchi said Iran's armed forces would regard both the origin and source of aggressive operations, as well as any action aimed at countering Iran's defensive measures, as legitimate military targets. He framed the confrontation as a broader regional crisis, saying the war is not only against the Iranian nation, but against all countries of the region, and called on Muslim nations to act responsibly. In an interview with NBC News, Araghchi insisted Iran is targeting American military installations in the region, not American civilians. He said, "We are attacking American bases, military bases in the region, and military installations and facilities, and this is only as an act of self-defense," he said. He accused Washington and Israel of starting the aggression, calling it a war of choice by the United States, while emphasizing that Tehran does not seek a broader war. "There is no communication right now," he added, but signaled openness to diplomacy if U.S.-Israeli strikes stop. "Once the aggression is stopped, we would also stop our self-defense." Meanwhile, Araghchi strongly condemned what he described as the bombing of a girls' primary school in Minab, southern Iran. He said dozens of innocent children were killed when the school was struck in broad daylight. Iranian outlets reported more than 50 fatalities, though the Israeli military said it was reviewing the reports. Independent confirmation of the death toll has not yet been established. The crisis now threatens to draw in multiple regional actors as calls for de-escalation grow louder.
Given what happened last January and the thousands, if not tens of thousands of people were gunned down on Iranian streets, I don't think it's very strange to see that many Iranians or some Iranians actually being happy seeing that regime forces are being targeted. But as we know, no war is clean, and there will be inevitably civilian casualties, and that might change the general mood as well as the war progresses. Regime change do not take place, cannot be done from the air. I mean, I can see two or three scenarios. One is that United States might have actually contacted elements within the regime who are prepared to make a deal, but not so long as Supreme Leader Khamenei is alive. And this scenario will be very similar to Venezuelan case. So you take out a particular leader, allowing for more pragmatic elements to take over. There are elements within the regime who, based on their interests and also some of their views, might be more likely to reach a deal with the United States. And there are also former elements of the regime who are marginalized, like Mir Hossein Mousavi, the ex-prime minister who disputed elections in 2009 and led the so-called Green Movement. Even Hassan Rouhani, who signed the nuclear deal. And he in particular has a lot of influence within IRGC itself. So under what circumstances these kind of people can come to the front and be interlocutors for US, we don't know. Another scenario is that, well, US-Israel basically want to degrade Iranian leadership and its military and security forces to the extent they can, and simply hope for people to take over state institutions, which actually during the last January protest, for the first time, there were reports of people trying to storm police stations and IRGC paramilitary Basij bases in certain neighborhoods. So if the regime is sufficiently weakened militarily and security-wise, that's not also inconceivable. And if that happens, basically you have a similar situation to the last days of 1979 revolution, when people actually stormed military bases and took over, weapons and so on and so forth. None of the existing opposition groups, neither the son of the late Shah, nor the Mujahideen Khalq organization, MEK, have nationwide support. Nor the Kurdish groups, who have a lot of support in Kurdistan, have, influence outside the Kurdish heartland. So I don't see any single opposition group which can command nationwide loyalty, but each of them have particular strengths in areas. So one thing I would add is that US and Israeli calculation and expectation are likely to be different, and that's quite probably logical. For Israel, it really doesn't matter. It's good if regime changes to a friendly one, but so long as Iran is incapable of posing a threat to Israel, that's their desired outcome. And if this is going to be through civil war, through chaos, through, I don't know, de facto partition, so be it. I think they would welcome that eventuality. So in that sense, those assessments which say the war has no clear objective because there is no possibility for regime change, I mean, those arguments might be much more relevant to the US position, but not necessarily to Israeli desire and position.
Tensions in the Middle East have erupted into one of the most dangerous escalations in years as coordinated strikes between the United States and Israel triggered a fierce and immediate response from Iran.
Iranian state media reported that at least 51 people were killed after a strike hit a girls' elementary school in Minab, in Hormozgan province in southern Iran. Another 45 were said to be wounded.
Separately, Iran's Mehr news agency reported that at least 2 students were killed in an attack on a school east of Tehran. The strikes have sparked outrage inside Iran, with officials condemning what they described as attacks on civilian infrastructure. At the same time, Israel's military issued a statement claiming it had struck hundreds of Iranian military targets, including missile launchers across western Iran. The Israeli Defense Forces said the Air Force was actively intercepting incoming retaliatory attacks, signaling that a broader confrontation was already underway. Iran responded within hours. Explosions were heard across northern Israel as air defense systems were deployed to intercept incoming Iranian missiles. There were no immediate reports of casualties, but the barrage marked a dramatic expansion of the conflict. Iran's Fars news agency also claimed Tehran launched strikes on U.S. military installations across the Gulf, naming Al Udeid base in Qatar and the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain as targets. Blasts were reported in several Gulf states hosting American forces, including Qatar, Kuwait, the UAE, and Bahrain. Domestically, Israel moved swiftly into emergency footing. Public gatherings were banned, schools and workplaces were shut, hospital patients were transferred underground, and Defense Minister Israel Katz declared a nationwide state of emergency. Meanwhile, the Iranian army announced it had launched dozens of attack drones toward Israel in what it called its first extensive drone offensive operation. Though many such drones have historically been intercepted, the message was unmistakable. The confrontation is escalating, and the region is bracing for what comes next.